Hi friends, thank you so much for tuning in to Shelby Artist YouTube channel today. It is great to have you here and I hope you're doing well. I came here to the nature outdoor scenery background for this video. This is a very special video I have for you today. It is very spiritual, and if you apply this advice here, your entire life will change for the better. This is actually the whole reason Jesus, the Son of God, Yahshua, came here to earth. His whole mission was to teach people this message, and it's about forgiveness. Now, I copied down an article I randomly came across online that I'm going to read in this video. It's called 8 Keys to Forgiveness. Written by Robert Enright, E-N-R-I-G-H-T. On October 15th, 2015. It has definitely helped me transform. I think it is very important that we take time to work on our issues. It's called shadow work, facing our shadows, selves, for integration and transmutation and healing. And this is what I'm doing here in this video, sharing with you my personal work. Okay. Forgiveness can be incredibly difficult. Robert Enright explains where to start. When another person hurts us, it can upend our lives. Sometimes the hurt is very deep, such as when a spouse or a parent betrays our trust, or when we are victims of a crime, or when we've been harshly bullied. Anyone who has suffered a grievous hurt knows that when our inner world is badly disrupted, it's difficult to concentrate on anything other than our pain or turmoil. When we hold on to hurt, we are emotionally or cognitively hobbled, and our relationships suffer. Forgiveness is a strong medicine for this. And I've decided to title this video, Forgiveness, a Strong Medicine. Jehovah Rapha, I am your healer. The Holy Spirit, Jesus Christ, Son of God, died to teach us forgiveness and give humanity a strong medicine called forgiveness. Believe me, it's hard, I know. But Yahshua made it look so easy, right? When life hits us hard, there is nothing as effective as forgiveness for healing deep wounds. I would not have spent the last 30 years of my life studying forgiveness if I were not convinced of this. Many people have misconceptions about what forgiveness is, or what it really means, and they may deliberately avoid it. Others may want to forgive, but wonder whether or not they truly can. That was me. Forgiveness does not necessarily come easily, but it is possible for many of us to achieve if we have the right tools and are willing to put in the effort. Know what forgiveness is and why it matters. The first key. Remember, this is titled 8 Keys to Forgiveness. Key number 1. Know what forgiveness is and why it matters. I have a lot of papers. The breeze may blow them around. Forgiveness is about goodness, which is a fruit of the Spirit, about extending mercy to those who have harmed us, necessary for our forgiveness, just as Yahshua displayed, even if they don't deserve it. It is not about finding excuses for the offending person's behavior or pretending it didn't happen. Nor is there a quick formula you can follow. Forgiveness is a process with many steps that often proceeds in a non-linear fashion. But it's well worth the effort. Nothing worth doing comes easy, right? Working on forgiveness can help us increase our self-esteem and give us a sense of inner strength and safety. Don't you want that? It can reverse the lies that we often tell ourselves when someone has hurt us deeply, such as, I am defeated or I am not worthy. Those are lies. Forgiveness can heal us and allow us to move on in life with meaning and purpose. Forgiveness matters, and we will be its primary beneficiary. Studies have shown that forgiving others produces strong psychological benefits for the one who forgives. It has been shown to decrease depression, anxiety, unhealthy anger, and the symptoms of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and any other kinds of physiological, mental, whatever, bodily disorders, okay? But we don't just forgive to help ourselves. Forgiveness can lead to psychological healing, yes, but in its essence, it is not something about you or done for you. It is something that you extend towards another person because you recognize over time that it is the best response to the situation. So when I was approaching the concept of forgiveness, it was definitely in a selfish understanding that it was more for me than the other person. However, this person is teaching, who studied 30 years on the subject, it is something you extend towards another person because you recognize over time that it is the best response to the situation. Number 2, become forgivingly fit. To practice forgiveness, it helps if you have worked on positively changing your inner world by learning to be what I call forgivingly fit. Just as you would start slowly with a new physical exercise routine, it helps if you build up your forgiving heart muscles slowly. Incorporating regular workouts of your heart towards forgiveness into your daily life. You can start becoming more forgivingly fit by making a commitment to do no harm. In other words, making a conscious effort not to talk disparagingly about those who have hurt you. You don't have to say good things, but if you refrain from talking negatively, it will feed the more forgiving side of your mind and heart. You can also make a practice of recognizing that every person is unique, special, and irreplaceable. You may come to this through religious beliefs, a humanist philosophy, or even through your belief in evolution. It's important to cultivate this mindset of valuing our common humanity so that it becomes harder to discount someone who has harmed you as unworthy of forgiveness. You can show love in small ways in everyday encounters, like smiling at a harried grocery cashier or taking time to listen to a child. Giving love when it's unnecessary helps to build the love muscle, making it easier to show compassion toward everyone. If you practice small acts of forgiveness and mercy, extending care when someone harms you in everyday life, this too will help. Perhaps you can refrain from honking when someone cuts you off in traffic. There is a beautiful tree I want to show you while I fix my makeup. It's red and green, okay, and this is why it's so beautiful, because we have the complementary colors red and green. It's a green tree, a normal little tree, and it has red berries all over it. So let me show you right now. Have you ever refrained from honking at someone when they cut you off in traffic? I know I have. Not to brag, but just talking. All right. That is where we left off. Or hold your tongue when your spouse snaps at you and instead hug them. Extend a hug. Sometimes pride and power can weaken your efforts to forgive by making you feel entitled and inflated, so that you hang on to your resentment as a noble cause. Try to catch yourself when you are acting from that place and choose forgiveness or mercy instead. We reap what we sow, right? I don't want to reap unforgiveness and bitterness and hatred and grudges. No, I want to reap mercy. And if I want to reap mercy, I have to sow. I have to give out. I have to plant mercy. The law of sowing and reaping, or the law of karma. In order to receive mercy, you must give mercy, and the scripture says this. Try to catch yourself when you are acting from that place and choose forgiveness or mercy instead. If you need inspiration, it can help to seek out stories of mercy in the world by going to the International Forgiveness Institute website at www.internationalforgiveness.com. Number 3, key to forgiveness. Address your inner pain. I don't know about you, but I don't want to carry around any more inner pain for another second. So we have to address it. This is called facing your shadow side, what we're doing here. Address your inner pain. It is important to figure out who has hurt you and how. This may seem obvious, but not every action that causes you suffering is unjust, okay? For example, you don't need to forgive your child or your spouse for being imperfect, even if those imperfections are inconvenient for you. To become clearer, you can look carefully at the people in your life, your parents, siblings, peers, spouse, co-workers, children, even yourself. and rate how much they have hurt you. Now, this is a journaling concept. Perhaps they have exercised power over you or withheld love. Or maybe they have physically harmed you. Or all three. These hurts have contributed to your inner pain and need to be acknowledged. Doing this will give you an idea of who needs forgiveness in your life and provide a place to start. Definitely getting it on paper and journaling for me is extremely helpful. I mean, it really seals the deal and concludes all this shadow work, you know, really. I'm just talking. There are many forms of emotional pain, but common forms are anxiety, depression, unhealthy anger, lack of trust, self-loathing or low self-esteem, an overall negative worldview, and a lack of confidence in one's ability to change. All of these harms can be addressed by forgiveness, so it's important to identify the kind of pain you are suffering from and acknowledge it. The more hurt you have incurred, the more important it is to forgive, at least for the purpose of experiencing emotional healing. You may be able to do this accounting on your own, or you may need the help of a therapist. However you approach looking at your pain, be sure you do it in an environment that feels safe and supportive. Number 4, developing a forgiving mind through empathy. Scientists have studied what happens in the brain when we think about forgiving and have discovered that when people successfully imagine forgiving someone in a hypothetical situation, they show increased activity in the neural circuits responsible for empathy. This tells us that empathy is connected to forgiveness and is an important step in the process. If you examine some of the details in your life of the person who harmed you, you can often see more clearly the wounds he carries, or she, and start to develop a healthy empathy for him or her. First, try to imagine him or her as an innocent child, needing love and support. Did he or she get that from his or her parents? Research has shown that if an infant does not receive attention and love from its primary caregivers, then he or she will have a weak attachment, which can damage trust. It may prevent him or her from ever getting close to others, an avoidant attachment style, and set a trajectory of loneliness and conflict for the rest of their lives. You may be able to put an entire narrative together for the person who hurt you, from early childhood through adulthood, okay? Or just imagine it from what you know. You may be able to see his or her physical frailties or psychological suffering and begin to understand the common humanity that we share. You may recognize him or her as a vulnerable person that was wounded and who wounded you in return. Despite what he or she may have done to hurt you, you realize that they did not deserve to suffer either. Recognizing that we all carry wounds in our hearts can help open the door to forgiveness. I am you, you are me. Namaste. Number 5. Find meaning in your suffering. When we suffer a great deal, it is important that we find meaning in what we have endured. Without seeing meaning, a person can lose a sense of purpose, which can lead to hopelessness and a despairing conclusion that there is no meaning to life itself. That doesn't mean we look for suffering in order to grow or try to find goodness in another's bad actions. Instead, we try to see how our suffering has changed us in a positive way. Even as one suffers, it's possible to develop short-term and sometimes long-range goals in life. Some people begin to think about how they can use their suffering to cope because they become more resilient or brave. I'm laughing because that's me. Romans 8:28 says, "And we know that in all things God works together for the good of those who love him and who are called according to his purpose." So every single flaming arrow that the devil shoots at me only makes me that much more brave, stronger, resilient, and better. You know, they've made many songs have been inspired by the quote, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger," and that's extremely true. I'm on number 5. Find meaning in your suffering. Okay. They may also realize that their suffering has altered their perspective regarding what's important in life, changing their long-range goals for themselves, reprioritizing your life and what's important and your priorities in your life. To find meaning is not to diminish your pain or say, "I'll just make the best of it," or "all things happen for a reason." You must always take care to address the woundedness in yourself and to recognize the injustice of the experience, or forgiveness will be shallow. Still, there are many ways to find meaning in our suffering. Some may choose to focus more on the beauty of the world or decide to give service to others in need. Some may find meaning by speaking their truth or by strengthening their inner resolve. If I were to give one answer, it would be that we should use our suffering to become more loving and to pass that love on to others. Compassion. Finding meaning in and of itself is helpful for finding direction in forgiveness. Romans 8:28. And we know that in all things God works together for the good of those who love him and who are called according to his purpose. And there's 2 squirrels playing with each other. Number 6, key number 6 to forgiveness. Call upon your other strengths. Okay. Forgiveness is always hard when we're dealing with deep injustices from others. I have known people who refuse to use the word forgiveness because it just makes them so angry. That's okay. We all have our own timelines for when we can be merciful. But if you want to forgive and are finding it hard, it might help to call upon other resources. First, remember that if you're struggling with forgiveness, that doesn't mean you're a failure at forgiveness. It is a process that takes time, patience, and determination. Try not to be harsh on yourself, but be gentle and foster a sense of quiet within. An inner acceptance of yourself. Do you accept yourself? I know it's hard, but we have to. We can't run away from ourselves because everywhere you go, there you are. You cannot run away from yourself. You are always with yourself. So we need to learn to accept ourselves. It's called self-acceptance. This is definitely a shadow work we all have to do. This healing, self-acceptance. What I did with the breathing to have the inner quietness, the parasympathetic nervous system is the calming side of your nervous system. And your out breath activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which makes you calmer throughout your whole body's nervous system, peaceful. So when we do breathing exercise for calming and activating our parasympathetic nervous system, okay, we focus on the out breath. Let's do it real quick together at 26 minutes and 35 seconds here. I do 5, 5, 5. 5 seconds breathing in, hold for 5 seconds, and 5 seconds breathing out. My dad was actually a respiratory therapist, and he did this kind of a thing in his job with his patients. So let's do it together. 5 in, stop for 5 seconds, 5 out. We are activating our parasympathetic nervous system for calm. Okay, let's start now. Now we're in key number 6 for forgiveness, calling upon other resources. This practice, the breathing out practice, is one of the other resources. It is a process that takes time, patience, and determination. Try not to be harsh on yourself, but be gentle and foster a sense of quiet within and inner acceptance of yourself. Try to respond to yourself as you would to someone whom you love deeply. Surround yourself with good and wise people who support you and who have the patience to allow you time to heal in your own way. Also practice humility. Not in the sense of putting yourself down, but in realizing that we are all capable of imperfection and suffering. Try to develop courage and patience in yourself to help you in the journey. Also, if you practice bearing small slights against you without lashing out, you give a gift to everyone. This is something I've actually been doing lately, aside from not honking at people who cut me off in traffic. People who do small slights against me, I keep my mouth shut and I hold my tongue and I let it go. Okay. You can help end the cycle of inflicting pain on others because everyone, when you give the gift of to everyone of not lashing out at small slights, not only to the other person you're giving a gift to, who you're forgiving, who slighted you, but to everyone whom that person may harm in the future as a result of your anger towards them, because of the butterfly effect and you know, the snowball effect, whatever. Okay, if you are still finding it hard to forgive, you can choose to practice with someone who is easier to forgive. like someone I love a lot. It's easier to forgive someone if I love them a lot, right? We all know this to be true. Maybe if someone who hurt you in a small way rather than deeply. Alternatively, it can be better to focus on forgiving the person who is at the root of your pain. Maybe there was a bee. Right when I said that, focus on forgiving the person at the root of your pain, there's a wasp bee that just landed on my table right now. It's there. Okay. I lost my place. Give me a second to find my place. It's still on the table. There's a bee wasp walking around right in front of me on the table. Oh, God. It is better to focus on forgiving the person who is at the root of your pain, maybe a parent who is abusive or a spouse who betrayed you. If this initial hurt impacts other parts of your life and other relationships, it might be necessary to start there. Okay, now there are 8 keys. I'm at number 7 now at 32 minutes. Forgive yourself. And I'm going to be quick to wrap this up because of that bee, that wasp. Forgive yourself. I have another video called Forgive Yourself that I made many years ago. Most of us tend to be harder on ourselves than we are on others, and we struggle to love ourselves. If you are not feeling lovable because of actions you've taken, you may need to work on self-forgiveness and offer to yourself what you offer to others who have hurt you, a sense of inherent worth, despite your actions. In self-forgiveness, you honor yourself as a person, even if you are imperfect. And of course we all are. We are perfectly imperfect, okay? We're the whole universe is one big paradox, right? We are all imperfect, yet we are all perfect, imperfectly, okay? If you've broken your personal standards in a serious way, there's a danger of falling into self-loathing. When this happens, you may not take good care of yourself. You may overeat or oversleep or start smoking or engage in other forms of self-punishment. You need to recognize this and move towards self-compassion. Soften your heart toward yourself. Open your heart chakra, soften your whole chest area, including your heart, and give that love towards yourself. Inward. After you have been able to self-forgive, you'll also need to engage in seeking forgiveness from others whom you've harmed and right the wrongs as best as you can, okay? It's important to be prepared for the possibility that the other person may not be ready to forgive you, and to practice patience and humility, but a sincere apology free from conditions and expectations will go a long way towards your receiving forgiveness in the end. Develop a forgiving heart. Last key. When we overcome suffering, we gain a more mature understanding of what it means to be humble, courageous, and loving in the world. We may be moved to create an atmosphere of forgiveness in our homes and workplaces to help others who've been harmed overcome their suffering, or to protect our communities from a cycle of hatred and violence. All of these choices can lighten the heart and bring joy to one's life. Not just one, all of our lives. Some people may believe that loving someone who has harmed you is not possible. But I have found that many people who forgive eventually find a way to open their hearts. If